So I might as well join that Jabber room as well.
Yep.
And we are joined.
All right, so this was set to IETF 104, but I think that's fine.
No.
Whatever.
Slash title. Space. Whatever.
What do you think? Unknown.
We lost Lucas.
And back. All right, well, it is time. So welcome, everybody, to the Calext working group at IETF 10 something. What it says on the slide's not what it says in the Jabber room. The note well is here. I'm sure everybody in this room is well aware of the note well and what it means to you. Don't be bad, and copyrights apply, etc. Yes, no submarines, no bad submarines. This is the draft agenda that I've put together. Do we have any changes, any suggestions to this? Thanks. Ken says he can't hear anything. Can you hear me now on the other one? I'll put that over this side. Yeah, maybe. We'll see where we get to. Cool. I guess we can scribe things for Ken if he's stuck, or Ken try plugging in your headphones or something. Well, if we use more time on Event Pub, we'll use less on other things. It'll come together. Mike also does not hear anything. How's that? That's off. That's on. Hello, hello. That's me yelling into the microphone pretty loud.
And this is Barry at the floor mic checking whether you can hear that.
All right, while we deal with technical details, let's at least bring up the Event Pub page so people can read it and get talking about URIs. Well, we're just trying to wait till Mike gets on because Mike's the one who needs to respond to it. Mike has tried reconnecting and does not have sound.
So is that the problem with the Miteco, or?
Possibly. This is the first meeting in this room, so clearly the sound's working in here. But Lucas says audio works.
Okay.
All right, Mike, is that any better? Blue sheets. Hello, hello.
I think the blue sheets are on the back.
Remote people, no, they're on the front here. Don't trust my co-chair. He doesn't know what he's talking about. All right. There was definitely an implement with it.
Did someone steal the blue sheet pen?
Here it is.
Okay, you can trust him again now. Oh, what is going on here? I already put your name on the blue sheet. All right. Still no sound for Mike. I guess we're going to have to transcribe in and out of the Jabber room.
No, just say can't hear.
Yeah. Miteko already aware. Sorry? I was just going to take notes on here. I have pen and paper stashed away. All right. We'll give maybe another 2 or 3 minutes for Mike to sort out his sound issues.
Miteko says that everything looks right from their end.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Mike's end.
Ken, Ken also has no sound. And Ken had sound in dispatch earlier.
But Lucas got sound, he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lucas said you could hear it. Now, how about Tim?
Tim, can you hear us?
Lucas says sound still works.
Gotta love technology. All right. All right, Mike's just disconnecting and reconnecting by the looks of things. All right, Ken, well, there's no point asking him there, is it? All right. Mike switched to Firefox and has sound. There you go.
So the problem is Safari.
All right. So Mike's back. Ken is hopefully going to start soon, but let's get started. Since we've got Mike here, Barry, did you want to talk about the URL and event pub thing?
Yeah, sure. Okay, this is Barry Lieba. I don't know if we have critical mass here, and was really hoping that this would have gotten discussed at CalConnect, where the right people are really there for it. But the gist of my discuss on this is that there's a lot of malware and spam and other crap coming through calendar things that calendar clients often automatically resolve dereference URIs. And there have been generally limited use of URIs in the calendar standards to this point. This draft adds a whole boatload of new URIs into this, and I'm really concerned about what will happen if calendar clients start dereferencing them left and right. The places that the URIs are in are places that I think would be likely to have clients automatically dereference them. So we need to say something about that. my first preference would be to change the draft to not have URIs in places where it's not really necessary. If we can't do that, if that's not practical or doesn't meet the needs of the users or whatever, then the next best thing would be to have a very strong advice against dereferencing these things without user interaction and warnings to the user that this could cause bad shit, which is a technical term. So I'll stop talking and you can let Mike talk.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Oh, amazing. Technology is wonderful, isn't it? Yeah, we did talk about this. My feeling is that this isn't... There's a weird echo going on here. Is it me?
It sounds great to us. So
okay, good enough. I'll put up with it. I do agree with your points, but there's URLs that could be automatically dereferenced turn up all over the place, and I just don't feel that if the event pub draft /spec is the best place to deal with it. We talked about this as the possibility. What we probably need to do is come up with I don't know, some best practices thing that a standalone thing. What should clients do? I hope you're still sounding good. It's terrible.
Yeah, it still sounds fine.
Great. A best practice document of some kind that deals with what do clients do when they get links to things. And they can turn up in email, they can turn up in link headers, they can turn up in all sorts of places. And yeah, I guess the event pub draft does add some. I don't think there's an explosion there. If you've got a location that's based on a V card, it's a reference to the V card, but we've had them all the time in calendaring. We had the whatever it's called, the URI property, which clients could have followed blindly. But there's no guidance for that. And I get your point, but I just don't think it's the best place to deal with it.
So I'll agree with this not necessarily being the best place to do it. I think the idea of doing a BCP about this is a good one, but I would want this document to block on that and not be published until it's ready. Because I really think advice is important.
Well, obviously, I disagree with that. But I would be happy to add a very large section on warning if we can move ahead with it. But I'd like, saying we're going to put together something. I think a warning on
I could live with that.
Okay, let me come up with something.
Yeah, I could live with that. If we had a strong warning and a statement that we're working on a BCP or something like that, I could live with that, and that would work. Daniel, you had your hand up.
Clearly, as a follow-on, we need to make a follow-on with that.
Sorry, Mike, you're breaking up.
Sorry, okay, yeah. I was just going to say, I think, can you hear me now?
Yep.
I was going to say, we need a commitment to do something to follow on, so we can put that into the spec and effectively reference that. I think.
This is Neil Jenkins. I would have said the main problem one is the style description, I think it's called in here, which is basically lets you put in an HTML version of the message body or calendar description, which a bunch of people are doing anyway, just in the regular description property, even though that's meant to be plain text. what's unclear to me is why that is. I think that one would be better not being URI, both because that's the one you have to actually fetch to display the event when you open it. Everything else, I don't think you necessarily do, but that one you do. And also it means it can't just be arbitrarily changed without actually updating the event data later, which is, I think, a good thing. I don't think you want it to just randomly change under you each time you open it, for spam scanning and all sorts of things like that, if nothing else. And in JS Calendar, we let you set the content type of the description, so you can put an HTML description in, but it's not a URI reference. It's just you can embed HTML in there if you really want to.
So the question I had is that is that reasonable that we do without any URIs here? The event pub.
Mike, did you want to come back in again?
Because to me, if there is one, that it's the same as if we have a lot of those. So,
is it possible to pull the URIs out of this and rev this after the BCP to put them back in, or does that just not make sense? Mike?
Well, yeah, there's a long history behind all this, but the idea was to try to make locations and participants and all the rest of it be based on information that came out of things like vCard.
Right.
That's where the information is in directories.
Right.
And the problem is that if you copy information into something like a calendar event, it inevitably gets out of date. You don't have any idea of where you go to get the most up-to-date version of that information. That's what the URI is where do I find the up-to-date version of this thing?
Right. The problem is it can also be, where do I find the up-to-date version of this malware or whatever that, or
I absolutely get that, but I don't know that this is I don't think this is a huge step from where we are in terms of risk. The problem at the moment is it's all over the place.
Neil, again, I mean, we already have in iCalendar.
Ignore the echo.
Attachments are generally just a URL to where I can download this attachment from. The big difference to me is that, for privacy anyway, is that is explicit user action to download that almost everywhere. Right. There's no just, I open the event and it shows. So, and I think there's a big difference between being able to refresh something by giving the URI of where I can fetch an updated thing at some point versus I have to fetch this just to show it in the first place. So if you did include a copy of the data, but also you can refresh this data in case it's changed at a later point from this URL, that's another option.
Yeah, that would make me happier, especially that was a big warning in the document about what bad stuff can happen if you're going and grabbing URIs. So I think the way forward right now is for Mike to try to come up with some text that we can bat around. So Mike, if you do some draft text for the warnings that would go in here, and we'll start from that.
So just to be clear, are we going to include the suggestion from Neil? Because I think on that the content can be added and refreshed on demand.
I think that's what's in JS Calendar, which lets you add links to things as like extra information. The main information is expected to be embedded, so it's only if you want to follow on using.
So for the remote people, that's can you just come up and repeat that on the microphone?
Yeah, I think this has diverged a bit from what's in JS Calendar for a similar kind of location object and stuff, which I expected to kind of be a mirror, in that tends to embed all the information, but you can always add links to external places if the user wants to fetch more or refresh or other stuff. But it's never expected that that's going to be fetched automatically just to show the event, because the information is already there.
Yeah. So that would make me much happier. Having the information that you expect to retrieve from the URI, the current version of that information in there, have the URI available to refresh it, and have a warning text in the document about what can happen, both from a security and a privacy point of view if you start going and doing that. I could live with that. That would be good.
So Daniel, I also like the suggestion for mostly privacy reasons, and so that's a very good one.
Okay, so I think where we are right now is that Mike has an action item to go off and try to write some text to put in the document.
I've just given that to him via Jabber.
And yeah, Mike, keep in touch with me and we'll sort it out, because I do want to get this published. I'm not trying to be a dick, so.
Cool. All right, let's move on to JS Calendar. Is there much to say on this? I gave it 10 minutes, but I don't
think we actually need 10 minutes. It's been in last call since the previous meeting. Basically, what's happened since then is mainly just creating registries for everything as discussed in Montreal, so that it's easily extensible, which is one of the goals of it. And I've had some good feedback in the last call, so there have been a few minor tweaks based on that, but I think I should publish a new version with just the final tweaks that have been made, and hopefully we can push that out.
Yeah, so Daniel, yeah, regarding the registry, I sent those to the IANA for earlier review. I'm realizing either I missed the email or haven't received any feedback, so I have to check that with the IANA.
It's complicated.
Yeah. So yeah, so I hope we made the right thing. I think yeah, most likely we even do more, because I don't think it was really required to have all these registries at the INAV. So I think we're good students at that point, but I'm waiting for confirmation. And once we have the confirmation, as well as the IPR from Robert, I will gonna send. But that's another problem. It's just, it should be solved in a few weeks. My concern is most with the IANA. And it's one of the documents I think we got the most review on. So I think it's a good example.
Cool.
Yeah, Alex Manikov, I just reminded that you might want to talk to IANA people this week. I know they're busy, but you can remind them that maybe it's at the top of your priority list, so maybe they can help you.
Cool. All right. Yeah.
All right, just because it's on the slide, there's actually a second document being discussed here, which is the informational one about translating between JS Calendar and iCalendar. There's been no work on that since Montreal, but I think Robert will finish that off when he gets back in a month or so, and it doesn't need to hold this up. So just a short update on that.
So are you saying that the document is going to be ready in a month, or?
No, sorry. The JS Calendar, iCalendar, I don't know. I think it's fairly complete already. It just needs updating for the changes that have been made. I think Robert will do that. He's currently, where is he, Ron?
Off on holiday somewhere.
Right. When he gets back from holiday,
we'll part of the world.
Yes. We'll get him to hopefully finish that off. And yeah, but as I said, that's just an informational one. And I think it shouldn't hold this up, especially as we need the final JS Calendar to ensure that everything's covered in the translation thing.
Mike has bad network, but he's been working on the Java implementation of this quite a lot in the past few weeks and says it's fairly complete now. So he's happy. All right. Next is subscription upgrade. Mike.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I cut off the video. It seems to help things. Okay.
Yep.
No, I was just going to say, I've been working on the implementation of a JS calendar package, and with the intention of moving on to the JMap stuff.
Cool.
Hence, questions.
Yep. The next thing is for you as well, Mike. The subscription upgrade. I had a question about status deleted and how that works for items that have multiple recurrence IDs. Do you always have to send all the recurrences if any of them are changed? And if you're deleting a recurrence, do you send a status deleted for that recurrence ID, or are you just sending all of what's left for that recurrence?
Hang on. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm trying to cut my own video, but I can't do that. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay. All I was going to say is good question.
Yes.
Yes, need to think about that one.
It's not addressed in the document, so it will need to be clarified, I think. Certainly coming from a CalDAV view where each URI contains all the recurrences for that particular UID, you would expect the whole set.
Yeah, I'd say what we're trying to do is essentially create a sort of a lightweight WebDAV sync. So we'll probably follow sort of what happened there, but yeah, that's something I don't think I've thought about.
Yeah, we certainly need to address exactly what needs to be cleared from the cache if you see something with a UID. Otherwise, you could have stale recurrence IDs lying around in the cache on the client and no way of removing them.
Yep. Okay, that's a good point.
Cool.
This is Neil. Yeah, I read through this morning. It seems mainly fine. There were a few questions asked. Somebody else sent through to the list. I thought the oddest bit was kind of section 7 is where it says there's a number of different ways you can get stuff. You can get a CalDAV thing, you can get a CalDAV thing with auth, and they don't have almost no description to them, and they don't even actually currently have references to the specifications, which they definitely need.
Yeah.
Do we want to keep that in, or should this document it would be tighter if it was just this enhanced get method? I don't know. Maybe the CalDAV thing. It just seemed a bit tangential almost.
I don't know. I sort of disappeared there.
No.
But I think that the point is that when we started is that we felt many clients and servers already support CalDAV. So allowing a client to upgrade to a full CalDAV was almost free. So there should be a way to advertise to do that.
So is that better than having the enhanced get then? Do we actually need the enhanced get?
The enhanced get was where I see that being useful is in relatively primitive clients, mostly in my implementations and deployments, we have a lot of web-based feeds that could work very nicely with this. That they just look for updates and then they update their view. So a lightweight synchronization process works pretty well. You don't have to implement CalDAV. We talked about having a CalDAV subset for a while, and then decided that really what we should do is just implement define something that was more in line with typical web practice, and then just say if you can do CalDAV, then do CalDAV.
Okay, yeah, I think that's fine. It just needs a little bit more fleshing out in that section.
Yeah, okay, I can do that. Yeah,
and
and the biggest change with the whole thing has been in realizing that the biggest gain for this is in mobile clients. We sort of took it from a server perspective when we started this, but I think the biggest gain is for mobile clients that are downloading huge feeds at times, and upgrading to something more efficient probably means battery savings and goodness as well.
Okay, sounds good. I'll send through my other feedback to the list. I don't think we need to discuss it here. It's more minor.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. All right, VLARM extensions. The main issue with this stuff was around the geo-privacy stuff for location-based alarms. So Ken and Daniel were the main people on this.
So what we did is that we asked for the GeoPriv people, so the former chairs of that working group, and he told us, he advised us to send our comments on the mailing list, which is not so much helpful for now, because I think the real problem is that if we have no perspective to end up with that document, it's going to be hard to find the resource and the energy to move that document forward. So back to the comment we had regarding this geo-privacy, I think, well, there is a GeoPriv framework, so we should not ignore that one. And I think the previous versions of the draft were a little bit ignoring this framework. So I think we should consider that framework. But regarding to, I mean, if you're able to reduce the localization aspect, I think it's still better than having no specifications. So it's true that if I provide you some indications about which time zone I am, you can infer in some areas I could be. But I think this has also to be balanced with if we do not think, well, full GPS information is going to be provided. So it's still better. And in most cases, the people you're asking for this time zone are the same you're providing your GPS information, because they host the map services. So I think, well, privacy is important, but at that point, we also have to balance with what's the impact of not doing anything, and what would be the impact given that it's not the only application that use geolocalization. So what I would like is that we make sure that this draft could be moved forward with that perspective, and so Ken can work on that, and I think what I'd like to avoid is that we improve the draft, we're close to, and then we're back to, oh yeah, but you leaked some information. Yeah, we will leak some. So we should work on leaking the modest amount of those.
Alexei Malenkov, I think in general, my advice would be state your assumptions. If you're saying, well, if we are leaking this information, we're already leaking it through other channels, at least if you write it down, people might agree or disagree with you. And in general, I think people are more tolerable to you stating that there are certain limitations or certain risks, as opposed to saying nothing.
Yeah.
So honesty is the best policy. So document what you know.
All right, so Ken, are you able to join us to talk about this? Have you fallen asleep yet? Here he comes. You need to kick Mike and then add Ken, I think.
Oh, I have to kick Mike.
Yeah. All right, now we've got Ken. Hey, Ken. We're not hearing you. Oh, I think we've lost him off the queue.
Yeah. Can we?
Here we go.
Okay.
And we've lost him again.
Still a few bugs in the system.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we will be back to.
Sure. Let's move on to series. Mike, do you have things to say about the series draft?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, the audio is pretty bad. It's coming and going. The series draft, I think it's surprisingly more complete than I thought it would be. It was a reaction to the problems of recurrences. That recurring events, the world I live in mostly with things is public calendaring, and organizations tend to produce very long-running recurring events in which every instance is modified. But in reality, that's sort of true for meetings, where every recurrence has an agenda in it. So the recurrence model as it was works very well for something that doesn't change much, like birthdays. It's very bad for meetings and for the kind of thing that libraries and places do, which is what they call a series. So it's a different model, and it treats each recurrence as a separate event and links them with the related property, which is an extremely underused property in calendaring. But I believe it's a lot closer to what is happening in real life. So I think the attempts to compress the recurring events is not going to work very well, because it's just a bad fit. So series, I think, is a better fit for what people are actually doing. That's where it was. That's the motivation.
This is Neil Jenkins. Yeah, I think this idea is good. I think the draft definitely needs some work still. I thought I saw on the list something about this going straight into last call, which I think must have been a mistake, because it's not ready for that.
Yeah, it was to be accepted into the working group, but
yes.
not last call yet.
Yeah, yes. I do think it should be accepted.
That's the
I think
notes from the last meeting was clearly needs some more work.
Okay, so that was just...
No, I wouldn't. I don't think it's ready for that. I mean, it's been exposed a little bit, and in fact, I just spent one evening producing the entire draft, and it's had one small upgrade since. So no, I wouldn't believe that either. So.
Yes, fine, good. Yeah, I said I think the idea is good. It needs various things for a start to make sure it's implementable interoperably, and I think we want to be clear how this interacts with CalDAV and whether a server should be generating these. To me, it has to be a server generating these for it to be useful. It's kind of a bit wishy-washy at the moment that a client or server may generate these ahead of time. There were a few other things I thought were a bit unclear. How the split concept, I did not understand at all. I didn't really see what was going on there. and there was a discussion that the series master is not a member of the series, which so it's like a template, I presume, which makes sense. I think that's good, but that means that you're not meant to show that as an event. But any client that doesn't understand this is going to show that as an event.
No, I think yeah, this is probably not the best place to get into that discussion. But the idea was to attempt to prevent clients from seeing these things. So yeah, I
should it be a different top level thing then, rather than a v-event template or v-event series template or something, so that other clients entirely.
Yeah, let's have a look and see what's going on there. The backwards compatibility thing was a lot. The idea was to try and build this so that clients would just. This is actually the missing thing from CalDAV is the idea of an expansion where what you see are just things that look like real events, and so from the backwards compatibility point of view, you just see these things looking like real events. And
yes, it should be just real events. I think this is really a way of getting the server to generate a series of real events rather than the client interpreting rules in the master as it goes. I think the concept's really good. I just don't think. I think it needs some work, basically.
I absolutely agree. I mean, I think, but yeah, yes, I agree.
Okay. Well, in that case, I guess probably better take this to the list rather than us talking about it over.
It's yes.
I just have one question. What is the overlap with recurrence?
The problem with recurrences, the recurrences work really well if nothing changes. So if you've got to say a birthday, and you the rules are exactly the same, but in recurrences you produce recurrence instances, and so you can calculate them, but they're very lightweight if nothing changes. But if every instance has a change in it, an override, then that turns up looking like a real event. And recurrences in iCalendar are not a change. The recurrence override is actually a full copy of what the event looks like. So if you change every, you can have a thing that's a resource that is megabytes in size.
Mike's breaking up. Maybe I'll just give a quick explanation as I'm in the room. Oh, yeah.
Actually, my question was, do we expect that one is going to replace the other? No, keep the
different things. But this would be a good fit for a number of situations where currently recurrences are used and they don't work great. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, and the last thing we've got is VPOL, I believe.
Yeah.
So this, I believe some work's been done on VPOL, but we didn't get ready for pushing a new draft by now.
Is that? Oh, Ken. So, are you online, Ken? Can you hear?
No, you're cutting out a lot.
Me? I'm cutting out.
Yeah.
I'm running out of options here.
Yeah.
Hang on, wait a minute. See if I can cut my video again.
Yeah.
It keeps coming on again.
But maybe not saying it.
Am I any better now?
Yep.
Great.
Yeah.
Is that yes or no?
Yes. Yes, you're better.
Oh, okay. Okay, VPOL. So, yeah, I pretty much finished the updating the draft switch to participant. And yeah, Ken has offered to help me work on that. The problem we have is largely a structure issue of whether we produce a single document that is VPO without any of the modes, and then have basic mode and a few other modes as separate documents, or merge them into one. So I think that's where we are still. Oh, sorry, I claims I'm shouting. Sorry, sorry, Pete.
All right, so that will just be ongoing work for the next little bit, which is good because the next thing that we have on our slides is reviewing our milestones. So running down what's there, attachments draft is done. Update milestones certainly needs to be done again.
This is Barry. I think there's something quite ironic that one of the most outdated milestones is the one to update the milestones.
Yes, that will be ongoing. ICAL relation draft, JS calendar draft, and event pub. ICAL relations has been done, I believe, but JS calendar and event pub, we'll update them. When do we expect to have JS calendar? We should be sending off very soon, so we could say that's by December.
Should have just stayed up. The send event publication draft to the IASG should be marked done. I mean, you have sent it to the IASG.
Yep.
Well, that was the first thing we discussed today.
Yeah.
My discuss on it. So the fact that it isn't out of the IASG is irrelevant. You have sent it to the IASG, so mark that one done.
Yay! Cool. There's something update milestones I can mark done as well. Or maybe just update we have to recharter. Yeah. So for the documents that we've discussed today on the list, let's just zoom back to the start here where the agenda is. Event pub's been sent. JS calendar will be sent. Subscription upgrade. I would say we should aim to have that done by the next IETF, so maybe February next year. Does that seem realistic to people, the subscription upgrade?
Which one would, I mean, we should target at least one for
the
end of the year.
JS calendar is targeted for the end of the year already.
Yeah,
for
but that's,
December.
It's done.
That is done. VAlarm extensions has the privacy stuff, so I'd say VAlarm extensions should be soon as well.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll target that for the end of the year. Series target for mid next year. Does that seem about right?
Yeah.
Cool. So sorry, yes, Mike?
Could I ask about my recurrence question? The R rule, multiple R rules.
Oh, yes. Neil, the question was multiple R rules in JS calendar.
Oh.
No one else seems to want to implement it. I guess it's a problem, Mike, because we've not seen any.
I do.
You have, I know. That's why 5545 changed it from 2245, whichever one it was, to be one instead of multiple. And
the reason why that was done was because user applications didn't implement it, and I get that.
Mm.
But the reason that I always disagreed with that, and the reason it came back to my mind was I had to work on a bunch of data for a site that I support, and discovered they had 7 recurring events. that all had slightly different recurrences. And the only reason they did that is because they could not express that with multiple R rules.
Out of interest, would that use case have been better fit with series? Just
No, it would. Series would be the same problem. You have to have multiple rules to do it.
sure. But I'm saying, suppose series supports multiple rules as opposed to event, so some template can. Would that? Have been...
that would be sidestepping the issue because yes, it would have. I could say in series we must support multiple R rules.
Because
yes.
I do wonder whether it makes more sense for this kind of template generation.
No, the thing is that it's actually often easier to express difficult things broken down to multiple rules than it is to express them in one rule. And from the, I agree that, say, in the commodity application, this sort of the usual user type application, simplification probably works fine. Saying once a week, once a month, whatever. In event publication, that's not the case. Event publishers want complication.
Okay, but you publish these events, that's going to be consumed by a consumer application, right? That's the point of publishing it. And so if it doesn't understand the multiple occurrences, you can't publish it with multiple occurrences.
Actually, the reality is that most clients will actually display them correctly. What they won't let you do is modify them.
Or I do not think either Google or Microsoft's online services, at least, support multiple occurrence rules in their data model.
If they're using iCal4j as their thing, which they do, they will probably support it.
Okay, we'd have to test that. My trouble is more that adding support for multiple makes the base case, the common case, more complicated. Just having a single one. Now
all it means is turning it into an array. That's all. Turn it into an array. I'm not asking for anything more.
Yeah, that's. I guess. I don't know.
Well, the thing is, the thing is, I understand the point of view of people who have to build UIs and the rest of it, but I don't think the data model should be driven by the simplest case.
Yep. Look, I'm not strongly opposed to it. I think an array, when change it from recurrence rule to recurrence rules, would not be a huge burden. I'd be interested if any other people had feedback, I guess, but yes, we could do that.
It's my only main objection. And we can take it offline. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this here because we haven't got much time anyway. But I do feel it's important.
All right, let's stick it on the list, and we'll contact some people who should weigh in and just ask them as well if they want to say anything. But
okay.
Yeah, I think we could change that. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Cool. So back at the milestones, just to rewind slightly, VPOL was the last thing. When are we expecting that to be ready to go? Is that before or after series?
Oh, before. Well, no, they're pretty much the same. I just need to figure out. I have the same problem I had with Sting. I have to generate a draft, but that won't be long.
All right. So let's say maybe April next year then.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Series for June. Like, this is when it's supposed to be done by. It doesn't mean you have to wait.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
But it just lets us space out the order in which we're expecting things to happen a little bit.
Okay. Yep.
Awesome. All right. I will update all the milestones. Finally, is there any other business? Awesome. Thank you, everybody. I will see many of you in 5 minutes for extra. Thanks for staying up late, Ken and Mike, particularly.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye then.
All right. There we go. I'll transcribe these into nice notes afterwards. Yep.
So one of the other things I had, what about the mobile location? Because it's the same thing as geocode.
For which?
No, where you have a mobile phone.
Yep.
And you wanted to provide the location.
For a calendar event?
No, it was to get the time zone.
Oh, okay. Yeah. For
Especially for a camp.
the times and stuff. Yeah.
So I think it's basically the same thing as Alexis said.
Yep.
So I don't know how